What's up, everybody? Happy Sunday afternoon. We got a 8-box break of Panini Donruss. 3 autos or mems per box. There we go. First box. Good luck, everybody. This is break number 685 BD. For those of you wondering what break number this is, 685 BD. We had a really nice Mike Mussina in the first 8 boxes. Hopefully we can get something nice in these next 8 boxes here. And the first box is open. Here we go, my friends. Good luck, everybody. Good luck. That is Jackson Churio on the optic. We're starting out with a little green Leo Tavares. Green on the Leo Tavares. These are not numbered. Green sunbursts. Those will get top loaded after the break, as well as all these bunch of these foils. That is Griffo Farrell, Ethan Salas, James Wood. There's Luis Angel Acuna. First numbered card is to 149. 149, that's Tyson Neighbors, 68 of 149 for San Diego. Caleb Lomavita on the Optichrome. Manny Ramirez. Bobby Witt Jr. on the Elite Series. That's Ricky Henderson on the Sunburst. Noble Mayer, our first auto. That is Tommy White for the Oakland Athletics. Tommy White on the blue auto. That is 3 out of 35. 3 out of 35. On the optic, we got Jake Peavy Reggie Jackson on the milestones. Jake Peavy on the foil. 115 out of 149 on the green optic. 115 out of 149. That's Tink Hence for St. Louis. Tink Hence. We got an Optichrome Auto. Optichrome Auto, Franklin Arias for the Red Sox. Franklin Arias. This one is not numbered. Juan Marichal, Roman Anthony on the Elite Series. Sunburst of Seaver King for Washington. Seaver King. Optic of Jarlin Susana. That's Deion Sanders on the optic. We have a blue milestone of Barry Larkin. Blue milestone. That one is 22 of 49. 22 of 49. That is a green of Don Mattingly. Green foil. That is 90 out of 199. 90 of 199. Pedroia on the Optichrome. Giants in Texas. You got it, Chris. We'll keep working on that, my friend. This is box number 1. How about on the pink to 79, Bryce Matthews for Houston. Bryce Matthews for Houston, 30 out of 79. Our acetate card is Braden Montgomery for the White Sox. Braden Montgomery on the acetate. Seaver King on the bomb squad. Juan Marichal on the foil. Andrew Jones on the Optichrome. Eddie Matthews for the Milwaukee Braves, so this goes to Atlanta on the optic. We got Brady House on the Marvels. 203 out of 250. That is Bryce Rainier for Detroit. Bryce Rainier. Kalen Culpepper for Minnesota on the optic. Heston Kjerstad on the optic. We got Cliff Lee on the green foil. James Tibbs for the Giants. That is Owen Hall for Detroit. Rhett Lauder. That's Unleashed of Mason Smith. Mason Smith on the Unleashed. That is Alex Gordon on the optic. On the case hit. That is Deion Sanders on the hit list. Deion Sanders hit list going to Cincinnati. Sunburst of Yadi Molina. 37 of 199. That's Hurston Waldrop on the orange for Atlanta. Purple of Ricky Henderson for Oakland. 45 of 99. 45 of 99. Brady House on the optic. Our patch goes to Adam Wainwright on the player worn material. Player worn material. Adam Wainwright going to St. Louis. This one is numbered 73 of 99. Jim Palmer. Charlie Condon. That is Heston Kjerstad on the foil. 3 out of 5 on the green. That is Connor Griffin for Pittsburgh. 3 out of 5. Nice hit for the Pirates. And that is box number 1. Box number 2. All right, box number 2. Box number 2, here we go. Andrew Jones. There's David Ortiz on the green foil. Bomb Squad. This one is not numbered. That is Ryan Sloan, Travis Bazzana, Dustin Pedroia, Unleashed of Jackson Churio, That is Buster Posey on the foil. On the cracked ice, 7 out of 25. 7 out of 25, that's prospect for the Toronto Blue Jays, Arjun Nimmala. Arjun Nimmala on the prospect. Next auto is going to be for the Dodgers. That's River Ryan. 12 out of 35. River Ryan, 12 out of 35 for the Dodgers. Willie Stargell. That is Kumar Rocker on the Marvels. That is Owen Hall. Aiden Miller. Nolan Ryan on the optic. That is Vance Honeycutt on the Unleashed. That one is 77 out of 199. Artist proof to 25. That's 25 of 25. Adam Wainwright. Sick artist proof. That is nice. Jimmy Rollins on the Optichrome. Ozzie Smith. That is Kumar Rocker on the Green Marvels. Green Marvel foil. That's Ricky Henderson on the cracked ice. Cracked ice, Travis Bazzana for Cleveland. Rated prospect, 7 out of 25. 7 out of 25 for the Indians. Or, sorry, the Guardians. I think Blah's watching. I just had to mess with him. For the Guardians. Nice hit for the Guardians. Prince Fielder. Greetings from Milwaukee, Jackson Chourio. That is a red, 123 out of 250. 123 out of 250 for Houston, Bryce Matthews. Noah Schultz. And our patch goes to the Pittsburgh Pirates. That is not numbered, that is Bubba Chandler on the jersey patch. Bubba Chandler. You calling the cops, Blah? I knew you were here, so I had to say it. How you doing, buddy? Pablo Sandoval, the Panda Bear. We got Mike Schmidt, Roman Anthony. That is Yadi Molina. That's Luke Keyshaw. Our next auto for the LA Angels. This is Christian Moore for the LA Angels on the Optichrome auto. This one is not numbered. Not numbered on the Optichrome auto. Pink to 79. That's Thomas Sagasi. That is 35 of 79. Thatcher Hurd on the acetate. Thatcher Hurd for the Yankees. Trevor Hoffman on the milestones. That is Tony Perez for the Red Sox. Don Mattingly on the Optichrome. Dylan Cruz. Aaron Judge on the Elite Series. We got a blue Leo Tavares Blue, that is 83 out of 149. Colin Hawk for the Mets. Ivan Rodriguez. We got Colt Keith on the Marvels. Junior Caminero. That is a orange Chase the Lauder for Cleveland. That is 141 out of 199. Miguel Tejada for Baltimore. Spencer Jones for the Yankees. That is Caleb Lomavita for Washington. Braden Montgomery for the White Sox. Nick York, Pittsburgh. That is Evan Carter for for Texas. Excuse me. That's green. Connor Norby for the Miami Marlins. That is green. 70 of 199. Slade Caldwell on the Optichrome for the Diamondbacks. And that is box number 2. Box number 2. Box number 3. There's 8 boxes in this break, Chris. 8 boxes in the break. We are on box number 3, my friend. Box number 3. Of course, bud, of course. Black laser's coming. Got a black laser coming. All right, guys, here we go. Box number 3. Box number 3. That is Dylan Cruz on the optic. We got a Diamond King of Carson Bench for the Mets. Diamond King of Carson Bench. That's Tony Perez on the green to 199. 139 of 199. Kyle DeBarge, our next patch, goes to the Arizona Diamondbacks. That is 1 out of 49. 1 out of 49. That is Jordan Lawler. Jordan Lawler on the Jersey Kings. Panda Bear, Charlie Condon. That is Edgar Martinez on the foil. I think it's Josker Gonzalez for the Giants. Josor Gonzalez, maybe? Josur? 194 out of 199. That's Nick York for the Pirates. Prince Fielder on the Bomb Squad. Colin Hawk on the foil. Ryan Clifford. Jim Cott for the Twins. Roman Anthony for the Red Sox. That is on the Sunburst. Cole Young for Seattle. Josur Gonzalez. That is Pee Wee Reese for the Brooklyn Dodgers. Trevor Hoffman, that is 16 of 199 on the milestone. 16 of 199. That is red, 117 out of 250. 117 of 250. On the optic chrome, Mariano Rivera. Luis Angel Acuna for the Mets. We got Hagen Smith for the Unleashed. Johnny Bench on the Sunburst foil. Black Laser. Black Laser. Rated rookie. That is Carson Williams. Carson Williams on the Black Laser. 23 of 39. 23 of 39. That is for Tampa Bay. Ian Kinsler for Texas. On the green foil, we got Nick York for the Pirates. We got a blue, that is Dante Nori for the Phillies. 17 of 149. Carson Bench on the optic. Austin Wells on the optic. That is Chris Davis on the green foil. That is for the Baltimore Orioles. That is Luke Keyshaw. Luke Keyshaw. Minnesota Twins on the Luke Keyshaw. C.J. Morlando for Miami. Evan Carter. There's Reggie Jackson for the Oakland A's on the milestone. There's Cliff Lee on the foil. That is a green Optichrome. That is Braden Montgomery. 87 out of 149. And then we'll use him to do our redemption. Redemption is going to Signature Series Teal. Signature Series Teal. Card 67. It's the San Diego Chicken. Autograph of the San Diego Chicken going to the Padres. That's sick. That is sick, guys. That is just too freaking cool. That's unreal, man. That is... I love it. The San Diego Chicken on the auto. That's Jake Arrieta. Seaver King. Jackson Chourio, 117 out of 199. Cole Young on the Optichrome. Jace Jung on the Optic. Travis Bazana Marvels. Alex Rodriguez on the Sunburst. That's going to Texas. Alex Rodriguez for Texas. Our next auto is right there. On the orange Optichrome, Craig Biggio, 113 out of 199 for Houston. That is our acetate, Braylon Doty for Cleveland. Brady House on the Marvel. That is Chipper Jones. Reggie Jackson for the Yankees. And our auto goes to rookie rated prospect. That's James Tibbs. That's going to the Giants on the Optichrome auto for the Giants for Chris in eBay land. Chris in eBay land. There's a nice James Tibbs auto for you, not numbered. Leo Tavares on the Optic. Should go to Boston. I know, but it's still going to you for now, buddy. I know, man. There's a lot going on with the Giants. I'm a Giants fan myself, so actually Rafi Devers kind of caught me off guard. I'm a Yankees fan and a Giants fan for the NL, so it kind of caught me off guard. All right, box number 4. Box number 4. I cannot believe the Red Sox traded Devers. It kind of caught me off guard. I'll be completely honest with you. right, box number 4. Here we go. Box number 4. Pudge Rodriguez, Tommy White. That is Luke Keyshaw for Minnesota. Drew Gilbert for the Mets. Prince Fielder, Milwaukee. That is Charlie Condon on the gold bomb squad. Nope, this is, I think, red. 50 out of 99. 50 out of 99. I believe it's red, because golds are to 50. Oh no, golds are to 10. So that's Bobby Witt Jr. on the green foil, 72 of 199, Kansas City. Jackson Churio on the Optichrome. Ozzie Smith, Ryan Sandberg. That is Lou Gehrig on the Sunburst. Reggie Jackson on the orange Optichrome for the Yankees. 108 of 199. Nolan Ryan on the optic. That's coming attraction of George Lombard Jr. That is Vance Honeycutt for Baltimore. That is 145 out of 149. Chet Williams, our first patch. That is for Detroit, Bryce Rainier. That one is 98 of 99. 98 of 99 on the Jersey Kings patch for Detroit. Craig Biggio, Dylan Cruz Elite Series. That is Ryan Braun, on the foil. Josué Gonzalez, that's 13 out of 149 for the Giants. Jordan Lawler, Rintaro Sasaki on the Unleashed. That is Dante Nori foil. Griff O'Farrell on the optic. Pablo Sandoval, Chris Davis on the bomb squad. That is 63 out of 250. That is Jacob Mizrowski for the Milwaukee Brewers. Bryce Cunningham for the Yankees. Nick York for Pittsburgh. On the green foil, Albert Pujols, that's St. Louis. Foil of Colt Emerson for Seattle. Jared Thomas. Miguel Tejada for Baltimore. Connor Griffin for the Pirates. There's Mike Mussina on the foil. That is a purple Jake Peavy for San Diego. We have another redemption. Jake Peavy is 20 out of 49. 20 of 49. And our redemption. Signature Series not numbered. Signature Series. Card number 45. That's Luke Little. Luke Little should be the Cubs. Luke Little should be the Cubs. I'm going to verify it real quick, but I think it is the Cubs. Luke Little, Chicago Cubs. I like to make sure. I know I knew the name, but Andrew Jones, Bobby Witt Jr. Unleashed. That is to 99, 39 of 99. That's Manny Ramirez for the Red Sox. Theo Gillen, Tampa Bay on the Optichrome. Dylan Cruz on the Optic. Austin Wells on the Bomb Squad. Jake Bloss for Toronto on the Sunburst. Next auto is coming up. That's Connor Norby on the Red Optic. That is 72 of 99. On the acetate, we got Malcolm Moore for Texas. Malcolm Moore. Nick York on the Marvel. That is Bert Campaneris. Bert Campaneris for the Oakland A's. James Wood Optichrome. And our next auto, rated prospect auto. That's Gerangelo Cinchte for Seattle. That is not numbered. Box number 5. There's some gold. There's some gold. Gold Optichrome. Be nice if that was an auto. All right, box number 5. Here we go. Tim Hudson for Oakland. We got Marcelo Mayer. Jeff Bagwell for Houston. That one is numbered 13 out of 99. 13 of 99. Boston Bateman for the Padres. David Ortiz. Bomb Squad. That one is 47 of 99. That one is James Tibbs for the Giants. James Tibbs. On the artist proof. That's a nice one for Houston. That is Spencer Arrighetti. 23 of 25. 23 of 25. Roger Clemens on the Optichrome. Willie Stargell. Yadi Molina. There's Paul Skeens on the Sunburst. Paul Skeens Sunburst. Connor Griffin on the green Optichrome. 106 out of 149. Connor Griffin for Pittsburgh. Yep. Tibbs must be a Tibbs case. There is Darren Baker. Ricky Henderson on the hit list. Ricky Henderson, this one's going to Oakland. That's sick. I was not expecting to see 2 of these. There we go, Ricky Henderson, Deion Sanders. There's Dylan Head for Miami. This one is 111 out of 250. 111 of 250. Jacob Mizrowski. Our patch is Jeff Bagwell. This is also a Jeff Bagwell case. Or 95 of 99. I mean, that's a lot of Jeff Bagwells in these last 5 boxes. Bobby Witt Jr. Unleashed of Luis Angel Acuna. That is Jim Rice on the foil, and on the black lasers prospect Spencer Jones for the Yankees. 25 of 39. Dwight Gooden. Bobby Witt Jr. That is Braden Montgomery. Tommy Troy for Arizona. I think we still got gold coming in that last stack. Jack Leiter. Rhett Lauder. That one is Buster Posey. 183 out of 199. Starling Caba for Miami. Adam Wainwright. On the Unleashed green foil, that's Bobby Witt Jr. Noah Schmidt for the White Sox. I'm sorry, Noah Schultz. George Lombard Jr. for the Yankees. Andrew Walters for Cleveland. That is 89 out of 199. That's Christian Campbell for the Red Sox. Jacob Wilson on the foil. That is Jim Rice on the orange. Jim Rice on the orange. 130 out of 199. Another redemption. Signature Series teal again. Card number 24 this time. Andres Chaparro. That should be the Yankees. Andres Chaparro should be the Yankees. Signature Series teal. I will double check it. Come on. It is not. It is the Washington Nationals. Washington Nationals. Andres Chaparro. This is Washington Nationals on Andres Chaparro. And the teal ones are to 15. Teal are to 15 on those autos. So that San Diego Chicken and that Andres Chaparro are to 15. 15 on the autos. Here we go. Catfish Hunter. There's Aaron Judge. That one is 57 of 250. That is Brody Brecht for Colorado. Jesus Made for Milwaukee on the Optichrome. John Smoltz. Cam Smith for Houston. On the Sunburst, that's Will Wagner for Toronto. There's the gold. I believe it might even be an auto. I'm not sure. Kumar Rocker for Texas. That is Hurston Waldrop on the Optichrome. Tibbs. It is not an auto because our auto is here. That is Dante Nori for the Phillies. Dante Nori on the Optichrome auto for the Phillies. Dylan Head for Miami on the acetate. Barry Larkin on the milestone. That is Connor Norby for Miami. On the gold Optichrome, 3 out of 10. 3 out of 10. Nice hit for the Miami Marlins. box number, what is this, 6? Yep, box number 6. All right, box number 6. Here we go. Bobby Witt Jr. Austin Wells on the green foil. That is Jake Peavy, 124 of 250. Christian Moore. Darren Baker. That is Carlos Beltran, 157 out of 199 on the Bomb Squad. Kendall George, 104 out of 199 for the Dodgers. Willie Stargell, Colt Keith Marvels. Greg Maddux on the Sunburst. Catfish Hunter on the pink lasers to 79. Catfish Hunter, that is 35 of 79. Jace Jung, Sebastian Walcott. That is Terry Francona on the blue. That is 84 out of 149. Dalton Rushing. There's Jake Arrieta. That's a green marvel of Aiden Miller for the Phillies. Caleb Lomavita, Carson Williams, Dwight Gooden, Unleashed, that one is Braylon Payne. That is Brooks Lee on the foil. Orange of Roman Anthony for the Red Sox, Roman Anthony. And our auto, Signature Series Blue. That is Sid Finch. Sid Finch. That's of the New York Mets. Sid Finch. Number 27 of 35. 27 of 35. Evan Carter. Jace Jung on the Marvels. There is Jim Thome for Philadelphia. 164 of 250. 164 of 250. Franklin Arias on the Optichrome. Austin Wells Optic. Alex Rodriguez on the green foil for Texas. There's Aaron Judge on the Sunburst for the Yankees. Brock Wilken. Oh. How about Seaver King on the Prospect Auto? Seaver King Prospect Auto. This one is not numbered. That is an on-card auto of Seaver King. Going to Washington. That came out of nowhere. Nice hit for Washington. Congrats. What's up, Dalton? Ian Kinsler. That is in our acetate is Boston Bateman for the Padres. Wainwright on the Milestones. Buster Posey on the foil. Nick York on the Optichrome for the Pirates. Luis Angel Acuna. Diamond Kings of Paul Skeens. Paul Skeens for the Pirates on the Diamond Kings. That's a blue of Jario Iriarte for the White Sox. Excuse me, 91 of 149 for the White Sox. That is Charlie Condon on the Optic. Our patch is Vance Honeycutt for Baltimore. Vance Honeycutt on the jersey patch. This is 1 out of 49. Number 1 of 49. Pee Wee Reese on the Optic. That's Cal Ripken on the Elite. Tony Perez foil on the ice. That is Hagen Smith on the Cracked Ice Optichrome. 7 out of 25. 7 of 25. Jim Cott. Aaron Judge. Colson Montgomery. There is Brody Brecht. And that is box number 6. Box number 6. right, box number 7. Box number 7, here we go. That is Brandon Sprout, Luis Baez. Bergkamp and Harris. There is Tommy White. Ken Griffey Jr. foil. That is a red Optichrome of Chase DeLauter for Cleveland. That is a red 25 of 99. 25 of 99. Sammy Sosa. There's Spencer Jones. That is Andrew Jones. That is 9 out of 250. 9 of 250. There's Chase DeLauter. Our patch goes to the Cincinnati Reds. That's Adam Dunn. Adam Dunn, not numbered on the patch. Billy Martin. Coming attraction, there's Colson Montgomery for the White Sox. Junior Caminero. Bryce Matthews on the orange. That is 158 of 199. Our next auto, Owen Hall for Detroit. Owen Hart was a good wrestler who passed away a while ago. There's Jim Rice. Braden Montgomery on the Unleashed. That is Arjun Numala for Toronto. Seaver King, Washington. Jacob Wilson Optic. That is Yadi Molina on the green. That is for St. Louis. That is Brooks Lee, 212 out of 250. Levi Sterling. Kumar Rocker. Christian Campbell. Mike Schmidt. Pudge Rodriguez for Texas on the Optichrome. Black Lasers to 39. This one is of Nick York for the Pittsburgh Pirates. Nick York, 1 of 39. Our acetate for this box, Walker Janke for Houston. There's Jack Morris on the milestones. Mariano Rivera on the Sunburst. Nick Kurtz, our next redemption. Fourth one of these 8 of this first 7 boxes. Crazy. Signature series, not numbered. Card number 1. That's Evan Carter going to Texas. Evan Carter going to Texas. Great player, that young man. Evan Carter, not numbered, on the redemption. There's no slabs in this, my friend. This is the live break, Mr. Fuego. This isn't a live show, my friend. This is a live break. Ryan Braun on the optic. Reggie Jackson on the bomb squad. That is Connor Norby blue. That one is 34 of 149. Bryce Eldridge for the Giants on the Optichrome. Mike Mussina, Jordan Lawler. Sunburst, Bobby Miller. That is a red, Jacob Mizrowski, red Optichrome. That one is number 9 of 99, Jacob Mizrowski, Milwaukee. Edgar Martinez, Aaron Judge. That is a James Triantos for the Cubs. James Triantos, that's 133 out of 199. Miguel Tejada for Baltimore, Optichrome. Cliff Lee. That is a gold for the Seattle Mariners, Gerangelo Sinche. 8 out of 10. 8 out of 10 on the Unleashed gold. Nice hit for Seattle. Thank you, Garrett. I appreciate you, buddy. I appreciate you. Bryce Eldridge on the Sunburst for the Giants. Ben Hess for the Yankees. Last pack of box 7 has Chipper Jones and Mike Piazza. We got 1 box to go. 1 box to go right there. Good luck on the last box, everybody. Good luck on the last box. After this break, I believe our next break is going to be Optic Football, I believe, on this same channel, Optic Football. It'll be coming up at the top of the hour. So up at the top of the hour. That is Jeff Bagwell on the Sunburst. Ethan Anderson for Baltimore. Our first auto out of this box is Chase DeLauder. Nice Optichrome auto. Chase DeLauder. Good player for the Cleveland Guardians. That is Jeff Bagwell again. Carlos Beltran. Red foil. That is 210 out of 250. That sure looks like Mr. Kyle Teal for the White Sox. Kyle Teal for the White Sox. That's Colson Montgomery for the White Sox. Red Sox just trade all their good players away. Jimmy Rollins. There's Paul Skeens on the Marvels. That is Starlin Caba. Hagen Smith for the White Sox. Starlin Caba for the Miami Marlins. Don Mattingly on the Optic. Prince Fielder. Three stacks to go. That is 80 out of 250. 180 out of 250. That is Bryce Cunningham for the Yankees. Pedro, Optichrome. There's Jim Thome for the Phillies. That is Reggie Jackson for the Oakland Athletics to 199. That is 172 of 199 for the Oakland Athletics. Reggie Jackson. That is Mr. Bubba Chandler. Bubba Chandler for Pittsburgh, 131 of 149. Noah Schultz, White Sox. Michael Young for the Texas Rangers. Jordan Lawler. When we are done with this box, we will do a full recap. That is Manny Ramirez. We have Noah Schultz for the White Sox on the teal, 111 out of 149. Our next auto goes to the Dodgers, Dalton Rushing on the rated prospect auto, not numbered. Dalton Rushing. Mike Piazza for the Dodgers. Mike Piazza for the Dodgers. That is Tommy White for the Oakland A's. And that is stack 2. Stack number 3. That is George Lombard Jr. for the Yankees on the foil. Dante Nori for the Phillies. Ricky Henderson. James Tibbs on the Green Bomb Squad. That is Austin Wells for the Yankees, 73 out of 199. Colt Emerson. Yadi Molina for St. Louis. Spencer Jones for the Yankees. That is Eddie Matthews for the Braves, Milwaukee Braves. That is Robin Ventura on the Optichrome for the White Sox. That is 42 of 79 on the pink. Nick Kurtz for the A's. Noble Mayer on the acetate for Miami. Gary Sheffield. Last stack. James Wood on the foil. That is 16 out of 25. Lou Gehrig on the cracked ice. 16 out of 25. Lou. That's Tony Perez for Boston. Jack Morris, Detroit. Last patch of the break. That is 3 out of 199. That's the big hurt. Mr. Nugenics, Braden Montgomery, and our last patch. How about a Jersey King of Paul Skeens? This is not numbered. And it's not from any specific game. So it is unfortunately not player worn. Paul Skeens on the Jersey King. Could they have gotten a smaller patch? Rookie of the year. Guy's got a freaking ERA that's incredible. And his team can't score him any runs. Yeah, that was a nice last hit. Absolutely agree with that. Maybe we can get one more. Because it looks like we got another acetate. But this one looks like a shimmer. This looks like a shimmer acetate. So let's see. For the Giants, we got Buster Posey. Behind that, we got Greetings from Texas, Evan Carter. How about Cooper Pratt for Milwaukee on the glitter acetate? 1 out of 10. 1 out of 10, Cooper Pratt. That's pretty nice. That is Jimmy Rollins on the Sunburst. 27 of 199. Another Jeff Bagwell. 27 out of 199. Jeff Bagwell has been all over these 8 boxes. And our last pack. Brooks Lee on the optic. Reggie Jackson. And that is your break. That's your break, my friends. All right, let's get a recap in here. That is always a long break with a little bit extra, always about an hour and 45 minutes. So let's get a recap in. Here we go. These are the 250. Here we go. eBay will zoom you in. There you can see the recap better. There you go. All right, to 250. We got Bryce Cunningham, Kyle Teal, Brooks Lee, Andrew Jones, Chase DeLauder. We got Jim Thome. We got Jake Peavy, Brody Breck, Dylan Head, Jacob Mizrowski. We got Bobby Witt Jr., Kyle DeBarge, Bryce Matthews, and Bryce Rainier. Now to 199, we're going to put that Bobby Witt Jr. back in the rotation. Jeff Bagwell, Frank Thomas, Austin Wells, Reggie Jackson. That's James Triantos. James Triantos for the Cubs. Bryce Matthews, Roman Anthony, Carlos Beltran, Kendall George, Christian Campbell, Jim Rice, Buster Posey, Reggie Jackson, Craig Biggio, Jackson Churio, Trevor Hoffman, Josor Gonzalez, Tony Perez, Connor Norby, Chase DeLauder, Vance Honeycutt, Hurston Waldrop, and Don Mattingly. These are the 149 to 149. Noah Schultz, Bubba Chandler, Connor Norby, Giarto Yorarte. We got Terry Francona, Connor Griffin, Josor Gonzalez, Vance Honeycutt, Braden Montgomery, Dante Nori, Leo Tavares, Tink Hentz, and Tyson Neighbors. To 99, Jacob Mizrowski, Jeff Bagwell, James Tibbs, Manny Ramirez, Connor Norby, Charlie Condon, and Ricky Henderson. To 79, Nick Kurtz, Catfish Hunter, Thomas Sagasi, and Bryce Matthews. To 49, Jake Peavy and Barry Larkin. To 39 on the black laser, we have Nick York, Spencer Jones, Carson Williams. These are the 25. We have Lou Gehrig, Hagen Smith. There's artist proof of Spencer Arrighetti, artist proof Adam Wainwright, Arjun Namala, and Travis Bazana. To 10, we had 3 of them to 10. We had Cooper Pratt on the speckle acetate, Gerangelo Sinche for Seattle on the Unleashed, Connor Norby on the Optichrome Gold. Our 1 to 5 green, Connor Griffin for the Pittsburgh Pirates. Our short prints, coming attractions, Colson Montgomery, George Lombard. Diamond Kings, Paul Skeens, and Carson Benj. Our greetings from Milwaukee, Jackson Churio, and from Texas, Evan Carter. Our acetate short prints, Noble Mayer, Walker Janke, Boston Bateman, Dylan Head, Malcolm Moore, Braylon Doty, Thatcher Hurd, and Braden Montgomery. Not numbered on the patches, we have Paul Skeens, Adam Dunn, and Bubba Chandler. These are to 99. We have Jeff Bagwell and Bryce Rainier and Adam Wainwright. To 49, Vance Honeycutt and Jordan Lawler. our autos. Our Optichrome autos not numbered. Dalton Rushing, Chase DeLauder, Owen Hall, Dante Nori, Gerangelo Cinche, James Tibbs, Christian Moore, Franklin Arias. This is a signature series. Luke Little for the Cubs. Signature series for Texas, Evan Carter. And our on-card auto of Washington's prospect, Seaver King. Our autos to 35, Sid Finch, River Ryan, and Tommy White. Now I'm going off of the checklist. They said that the teals were to 15. Andres Chaparro, that's for Washington. And this one's really sick. That is the San Diego Chicken auto. San Diego Chicken to 15. Do not quote me on the to 15s, guys. Again, I'm just going off what the checklist said. Alright, and our 2-case hits. We had a hit list for Oakland of Run Ricky Run, Ricky Henderson, and hit list of Deion Sanders, Neon Deion for the Cincinnati Reds. There's your break, my friends. Again, I want to appreciate you all for being here. Have yourself a great afternoon. I will see you guys next time. Peace.